year now, I've been thinking I'm mentally soft, and that was the reason why I couldn't complete a 20-minute FTP test. That was until recently when I found out exactly why that wasn't the case, and very shortly I'm about to reveal exactly what it was and how you can avoid it as well. A bit of backstory. So I used to be able to do the 20-minute test, and it wasn't until when my FTP started creeping up towards 315 watts that everything started falling apart. And so what would happen is around minute 10 or 12, I'd be on the bike and my legs would just stop. And I'm not exaggerating here or anything. I'd literally be on the bike, I'd be pedaling, and literally there'd be a force in my head saying, hey, I'm gonna stop, like I can't keep this up. And literally 3 or 5 seconds later, my legs would just stop. And I remember looking down going like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, why have my legs just stopped? And it would be a grind to get started again, and I could push some more power, but it was really odd. My legs would just stop. And so working with my coach at the time, he thought it was a bit of a training stimulus issue, that perhaps with some more talk sessions and things like that, it would help. But it always seemed to happen at around minute 10 or 12. And I finally found out what was causing it after a VO2 max workout recently. And it's called neuromuscular fatigue. Basically what's happening is the brain can no longer send signals to the legs and everything just kind of falls apart. But if this does happen, there is a workaround for it. So to give a bit of a simple example, now I'm no sports scientist and there's a lot of technical jargon here, so let me break it down in a way that I found it easier to understand. The way you want to think about it is like your brain is sending a text message to your legs. Hey bro, this is a message to remind you to contract your muscles and to keep spinning those legs. PS, we should totally subscribe to this channel and like the video. Hey brain, legs here. Yeah, totally got your message and we'll keep spinning those legs. PS, I nearly forgot to like this video and subscribe. I didn't realize this. Behind the scenes, what's happening is our brain is continuously sending electrical signals to our legs to remind it to expand and contract the muscles. And that's every single pedal stroke. And so what happens and what causes this neuromuscular fatigue is the lactic acid buildup becomes too much. Now we might know that when our legs are screaming, especially when going up a climb, but our body can naturally start clearing this. It's why we tend to do a lot of zone 2 and why it helps so much. We train the body to clear and flush out the lactic acid. So where this gets interesting is at threshold, we can sort of produce and clear it at the same rate. But what was happening during this 20-minute FTP effort is effectively I was sitting at VO2 max power. And what was happening, that scale wasn't quite balancing out. I was now producing it faster than my body could clear it. And when that happens, we produce too much hydrogen ions. And without getting really nerdy, and this kind of went over my head a little bit, it can actually disrupt the electrical signals in our legs. So what happened is my brain literally for a few seconds couldn't send signals to my legs. So if we go back to the texting analogy, it's a bit like we lose signal. Hey bro, it's me again. Just a reminder to keep spinning those legs. Wow, it's been a while. I haven't heard anything from the brain yet. I'm still waiting for his messages. And so you might wonder, well, why is this a problem? And like, why is it only happening during FTP tests? And this is where the fix comes in. So during an FTP test, you're told explicitly you must sit in the saddle. You can't get out of it. And what can happen is subconsciously, if we were doing a ride outdoors, going up a hill, for example, and we started to feel that burn in our legs, naturally we kind of get out of the saddle and then start using our body weight to start pushing. And it's that little change there that disrupts everything. So by standing, we now recruit different muscles. We break up that pattern, but the most important bit is about the muscle type we use. So we go from using our sort of fast twitch muscle fibers to our slow twitch ones, which are less likely to fatigue. And so the fix, if this happens and you are doing an FTP test, is to actually increase the resistance on the bike. So that will mean shifting to a harder gear. And you might only have to do this for maybe 5 or 15 seconds, but that's literally all it takes. And yes, it's going to be a little bit painful, but it does stop this neuromuscular fatigue. It's a bit like if we go back to the texting example, it's like swapping from 5G to 4G. It's a little bit slower, but it's still as reliable. And so I actually put this to the test recently. I recently did a time trial. Now it wasn't much, it was about a 15-minute effort, But this did happen. I did get the neuromuscular fatigue feeling kicking in again. So I'm holding around VO2 max power. In fact, it was actually the exact same power I've been holding or trying to hold in those FTP tests when everything fell apart. And funnily enough, it was exactly the same amount of time. It was roughly minute 10 when a feeling kicked in and my legs wanted to give out. Now, rather stupidly, and I think this is because my brain was in literally VO2 max territory and couldn't think straight, I was using virtual shifting on Zwift, and I actually lowered the gears instead of making it harder. It did work, but it then happened again a short while after. And so I cranked up the resistance, and you want to aim for about 75 to 80 RPM. And this shocked me. Like, I knew I was going to stop, like my legs were going to give out. Literally 10 or 15 seconds, and I was back into action. And this is going to sound like one of those crappy online adverts, but literally this one simple trick just completely changed everything. Now all of a sudden I wasn't giving out. I knew what was causing it. And so if you're in an FTP test and you can't stand, well, now you know, just downshift, make it harder for a few seconds, and you can break through this. Now I'll probably have to do a whole separate video. There seems to be a lot of talk at the moment about FTP tests and whether a 20-minute test is accurate or not. And I think it's good, but I realized at a certain point, it starts becoming a bit of a problem. And I think as your FTP naturally starts going up, it's sort of a scaling effect where for me to hold my FTP, I have to sit 20 watts above my threshold, which is now VO2 max. So it becomes a 20-minute VO2 max effort versus when it's slightly lower, it's maybe about 5 to 10 watts above that. So it is just above your threshold. There are other ways of validating it, and this is probably a whole separate video where you can do things like an hour-long test, you do climbs, and you can also triangulate your data, which is something I've been doing recently. But I wanted to share this because this has literally been such a game changer for me. I cannot tell you how much of a relief this has been. I've been thinking for ages it has been me. I've been thinking I'm just mentally soft, I'm cracking during a 20-minute effort, there's no rhyme or reason for it, I'm just mentally very soft. And it turns out wasn't the case. I actually was a lot stronger. It's just my body, literally my body was saying, hey, I can't send signals. Now, obviously we can train this, we can try and get better at it. I seem to have traded a lot of my anaerobic snap for aerobic power. So like a huge diesel engine, but I just don't seem to be very good at sort of VO2 max. So it's something I can train, but now I know this trick, it's been a game changer. And with that, I hope it helps. And let me know, have you run into a similar issue yourself? What's been your biggest cycling breakthrough? And with that, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.